enough with the theoretical or ideological approaches on how to run an economy. Let's make it real now. What do real people do in their real jobs to make real money, which keeps any economy going and growing? Well, every job you've ever had, or ever will have, falls into one of four different types of economic activity, or one of four different economic sectors in the economy of your state. And each of these sectors produces different things of radically different values to the state economy. Let's start at the base, the low end, and work our way up the value chain, shall we? Now, these four economic sectors, they have real complicated names. We're going to start with the primary, then go to the secondary, then the tertiary, and then to the special quaternary. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how hard it gets. Let's start with number one. The primary economic sector is very simple. Extracting or harvesting natural resources, taking raw commodities from Mama Earth. If it's out there in the world, or you've manipulated the earth somehow and just taken this stuff off, harvested or grabbed it off the earth, that is a primary economic activity. Things like farming, livestock raising, fishing, yeah, just pulling a fish out of the water, forestry, cutting down trees in the woods and taking them, all sorts of mining, oil, coal, natural gas, zinc, magnesium, copper, iron, all fossil fuels, all metals, all minerals. And if you're taking it out of the earth, that is a primary economic activity. Here's the real deal I want you to think about, though. That raw stuff ain't worth much. Not until you do something to it. Now, I know that sounds like a contradiction already, because I said oil. Ooh, isn't oil worth a whole bunch? Think about it. How much does oil cost? You can get a barrel of it for like $100. You break down raw oil to like a gallon, it's like worth 40 or 50 cents a gallon. You pay more for milk. In fact, you're going to pay a lot more for milk. But even think about milk, another raw commodity. It's a couple bucks a gallon. Is that really that expensive compared to a flat screen TV? I don't think so. So raw commodities really aren't worth that much. Now, the reason that some countries make a lot off of oil, even though it's inexpensive, is because they sell a hell of a lot of it. But the commodities themselves in the primary economic industries are very low valued, like I said, until you do something to it. We'll do something to it like what? Like refine it, clean it up, make it more special, do something to it. That is our second level of economic activity in the secondary economic sector. This is the processing and manufacturing sectors. And refining is just taking a raw commodity and somehow making it a little bit better. Refining natural resources, or in the manufacturing sector, making stuff, which includes just about all the stuff you can think of. Now, here's the real deal with the refining, processing, manufacturing sector, all in the secondary. You're adding value to those raw commodities. They will be worth a whole bunch more when the secondary industry is finished with them than they were back in the primary industry. Again, refining raw natural resources is pretty straightforward stuff, but it does add tremendous value to the finished product. Think about it next time you go to the grocery store. Oranges, orange juice. Which one is worth more? Go check the prices. You take a hell ton of cheap-ass oranges and just squeeze them and put it in a carton. You can sell this for a lot more. You've done simple refining. You're squeezing the juice out. It makes it better for the consumer. That's what they want. You know, you can actually see this in the real deal when you go into the grocery store and go to the produce section. You get a whole pineapple for a certain amount. If you let the people at the grocery store chop it up for you and put it in a little container, they're going to charge you twice as much. They've done nothing to the pineapple except cut it up into pieces so it's pretty for you, and you will pay a lot more. Simple refining. Oranges to orange juice. Roasting coffee beans. Raw coffee beans aren't worth that much. You roast them, you toast them, you get them all smelling good, ready to make some coffee. Worth twice as much, if not 10 times as much. A fish to a fillet. You mean cutting the head off a fish and ripping out its guts makes it worth more? Yes. When I go to buy a piece of fish, I don't want to see a damn fish eyeball looking at me. Cut that shit off. I'll pay more for it when it's already filleted, all the bones out, all the crap out. All they've done is simple processing. Taking a log and cutting it into 2x4s. Are you kidding me? That would add value? Yes. What's a log worth in the woods? It ain't worth nothing to you. Somebody takes the time to chop it into nice planks and maybe treat it. You know, you got a 2x4s you can build a house out of. Yeah, that's worth a lot more. Go check that out at Lowe's. They charge a lot of money for processed wood. Iron ore to steel. Iron ore, not worth much. You smelt it, you do a little more things to it, you make it into steel. That's what the construction industry uses. Steel, worth a lot. Raw oil to gasoline. Yeah, gasoline is refined oil, as is all plastics. Refined oil, and plastics and gasoline is worth much, much more than oil. Now that's just the refining stuff. The manufacturing sector is the one you're probably the most familiar with, and that's a sector that makes stuff. And it gets even more complex as it takes some raw materials from the primary, some processed materials from other secondary industries, and puts them together into what we call pretty much finished goods, consumer goods, finished goods. I mean, a manufacturing sector industry might take some rubber and some leather and maybe some metal grommets and some leather and lace and make them into shoes. Yeah, and those shoes are worth a hell of a lot more money than all that other stuff was independently. Or another industry could take rubber and make it into tires and have a steel that they form into a chassis and a plastic dashboard and leather bucket seats. Put them all together. Hey, that's a car. They're worth a whole bunch of money. Worth way more than individual components. Pretty much secondary sector makes up all the stuff that consumers buy and use. Textiles, oil refining, lumber mills, paper mills, chemical producers, electronics, toys, autos, cars, bikes, trikes, lights, kites, tights, CDs, DVDs, SUVs, DDT, flat screen TVs, and washing machines. If you shop for it, sold it, bought it, own it, can touch it and use it, it probably is from the manufacturing secondary sector. Whew, that was a mouthful. So what else is it that can be done to commodities that might add even more value to them? I mean, we've refined them now, we've processed them. What else could you do to make things worth even more? Ha! That brings us to the tertiary sector, one you're probably very familiar with, and this is AKA the service sector, the one that most of you have spent most of your life in if you're from the US or another rich country. Services that may use things from the primary sector and probably use a lot of things from the secondary sector, but they do something and ultimately they provide a service which makes things much more valuable once again. We keep going up in value as we go up these economic sectors. Example, a contractor, a dude who builds a house for you. Now, he arranges for all the 2x4s and the bricks and the pipes and the sinks and the stoves and the washing machines, which were already made back in the primary or secondary industries. He arranges for all those things to be put together for you into a house. Now, don't get confused. You might say, well, he makes a house. He didn't make a house. He didn't make all the 2x4s and all the bricks and the stove. He is providing a service, arranging for all these activities to happen to put this house together for you. And how much value has that contractor added? You'll find out soon enough when you go to purchase your first house or have it built. Hell of a lot of value is added. Are the bricks and pipes and stoves and washing machines worth a whole lot by themselves? No, you put it all together into a house and now you got a $250,000 price tag on it. So services increase the value of virtually everything. And you have the plumber and the brick mason and the electrician that also work on that house are providing services to you, perhaps directly, or to the contractor. So they're providing services to the contractor's providing services to you, service sector stuff. And again, this is the one that probably most of you have worked in. You probably have not worked on a farm or been a fisherman or worked in an auto plant. You've probably been in services, mostly things like sales. You're working at the mall, and you're providing a service by helping people try on the clothes or bring them the clothes or put the clothes on the shelf. I mean, that is providing a service, getting these goods to a place where people can buy them. It actually is kind of a nice service. A lot of you probably worked in restaurants too, and think about, what's a restaurant do? I mean, they take stuff actually from the primary industry. They take fish and grains and food, but then they provide a service. They cook it for you. They make it all pretty and add their skills so it tastes better, and they charge a hell of a lot more money when it's on that plate in front of you. And even the waiter bringing it to you is providing a service. You don't have to go back in the kitchen and get it yourself. No, they're bring it to you. You're going to provide a service, and we're going to charge you for that. You're going to tip for that service. Service sector. But not just the easy stuff that most of you have done. but like all tradesmen, like those carpenters, electricians, and brick masons, accountants, doctors, lawyers, teachers, engineers, real estate people, banking, police, bureaucrats, the military, the armed service. What's their service? Well, they go kill people for you. They're actually protecting you. That's a service they're providing. But I love it. Killing people for you. What a great service. But airline pilots, taxi drivers, bus drivers, truck drivers. The transportation industry itself is wildly underestimated for the value that adds to products. What do I mean? Just a truck driver adds value to products? Big time. You think about it. What good is that flat screen TV or that washing machine or that boatload of bananas down in Nicaragua? You don't live in Nicaragua. You live here. So there may be 1 trillion pounds of bananas down there. They're of no value to you. They're of no value to anybody until somebody puts them on a boat and they float it up the coast and then they put it on a truck and the truck driver takes it to the grocery store. And then when it's in the grocery store, now it's worth something to me because I can pick it up here and buy and consume it. So they add a lot of value by transporting things to the consumers. Service sector adds lots of value to lots of things. So what could possibly be left? We've pulled raw resources, we've refined them, we've manufactured some stuff, and now we provide all the services. This is where it gets a little tricky because most textbooks and even government that collects statistics on things like this don't really tease out this last one, but I do. And I call it the quaternary sector. You're increasingly seeing this used by other folks as well. Most of the time, quaternary sectors are just folded in with tertiary activities right this second, but I want you to be smarter than the average bear. So what would the quaternary sector be? Up here, we're going up even higher in the economic chain. It's a great indicator of how well off a society or state really is and the prospects for its future growth and future profits. And that's why I really want you to know this. So what the hell would a quaternary sector job be? Or what do people in a quaternary sector job do? What's left I haven't talked about? How about astronauts? Astronauts? What the hell does an astronaut do? What is that? What is a space program? What service is that providing? What tangible manufactured good is it giving to citizens to buy? What primary thing is being pulled up by an astronaut? Nothing. They don't do any of that stuff. It's about information creation. Quaternary is the information sector. And while you're probably not going to be an astronaut, what can you tell me about societies that have astronauts? Before that, maybe you should ask, what other quaternary sector jobs might there be? How about an archaeologist? What the hell do they do? Dr. Jones going up and digging old bones and trying to figure out stuff. That's not a service. It's not a tangible good. Archaeologist, astronauts, research scientists. That's the one to really kind of jot down. Computer programmers, writing new code. Analysts, newspaper editors. All of these occupations don't really provide a finished good or a direct service to consumers, do they? They don't. But they are creating or modifying information, which then in turn may be used by a variety of services and a variety of industries to produce a great variety of things. And think about the things, the products that might come out of a research scientist work. I don't know, like I say, a research scientist creating a vaccine for AIDS or the cure for cancer. Now I think you're starting to immediately get the picture here. Those are people that aren't really doing anything directly for the economy, but what they do can be very significant for the future of the economy in a gigantic way. Can you think about all the value and all the commodities and all the stuff that will be produced whenever any society invents an AIDS vaccine? Holy crap, that's serious, serious money. So what types of countries have quaternary level jobs? They got to be the rich ones with capital, advanced economies with advanced and highly educated societies that have the time and the resources to say, hey, You people, you can go do this. You're actually not doing anything of economic direct benefit to us right this second, but we're investing in our future. Go archaeologists, go astronauts, go research scientists, go get new information so that we can have new stuff in the future. That's critically important. Think about that. What can you predict economically about countries that have research scientists or computer programmers who are cranking out results in genetics or trying to crack disease codes or new codes for software? I mean, these are high dollar, high ticket items of the future. I think it's quite significant to point out where quaternary jobs are around the world, because those are the prospects for tremendous growth in the future. And on the flip side of that, what can you say about a country that has no astronauts or archaeologists or research scientists? Yeah, they're probably broke. They probably got a low education system, and what are they going to be doing in the future? Probably not quaternary jobs, probably whatever poor jobs they're doing now. And that brings me full circle now. What can we tell about a country by looking at the numbers of what people do for a living, of how many people are doing each of these economic sectors in different countries? What would you predict, just off the top of your head, that rich countries do economically versus what poor countries do economically in terms of their economic activities?